Amen. Well, if you have your sermon notes, I don't know what page you're on, but I'm on page 8 of mine. We're in the book of Daniel, chapter 9, verse 24. I'm going to give you a quick recap. Daniel, chapter 9, verse 24. We started painting a picture on the Antichrist. Anti, meaning against. Christ is the anointing. So anything that has to deal with God, anything against the things of God, the people of God, the house of God, the church of God. And so we're going to take a deeper look into the Antichrist. Right now, I submit to you that the Antichrist is alive and well and on the planet. He's just waiting for something to transpire, for him to come onto the scene and so forth. And so we may dive into that a little bit tonight, but we're just going to go ahead and show you some things that are going on. Currently, as far as biblical prophecy is concerned, we will be bringing up the Muslim religion, Islam, and so forth. It is not to bash the Muslim religion. For those of you that are watching, it's a comparative religion on what the interpretations are and so forth. If we do say anything, it's going to be about the radicals who feel it's okay to go around stabbing and beheading people because it's not. They just recently had in the news an incident in Germany where 2 Americans got off, I believe it was a train, and somebody just came up and just stabbed them because they were Americans. And how many of you know that the radical Islamic religion deems you as Americans, you are known as the Great Satan. That's what they consider Americans, and so they have no problem stabbing you, beheading you, doing things of that nature. So we're going to get into this a little bit deeper, and I pray that's going to bless you. This is the stuff that's going on in the news right now. It's going behind the scenes. The news is really not reporting the news anymore. If you want to see some good news, you have to go on, British news sites and a couple of others, independent news sites now that are actually still putting stuff out, because most of the news that we have now has become entertainment news. I mean, you know what I'm talking about. All right, so we're in the book of Daniel, chapter 9, verse 24. We started talking about the Antichrist a little bit and how he's going to use crime and all sorts of things in order to get his people into position and power. So in the book of Daniel, chapter 9, verse 24, it says, 70 weeks are determined upon the people and upon the holy city. Now, this is a prophecy in the book of Daniel talking about Israel and Jerusalem, and it's going to span the time from a commandment being given forth by Nehemiah in the book of Nehemiah, King Artaxerxes. He's going to give a command to start rebuilding all the way up into the years of the time when Jesus was walking on the planet, and it's going to span a couple of more thousand years all the way up to our time when Jerusalem is going to be rebuilt and so forth. I shared with you in the last session that they have all the utensils, everything is prepped and ready by the Sanhedrin. They even know who the Sanhedrin is. The Sanhedrin are the priests who are going to be operating in the temple. They have all the stuff prepared. It's even on display. If you go to Israel, Pastor Karen and I were blessed to see the giant menorah. It's about a 10-foot menorah, pure solid gold behind plexiglass, reinforced plexiglass security with Israeli machine guns. Okay, they're everywhere. So it's really neat. So everything's in place for the third temple to be put into position. That has to be Bible prophecy. There's a Texas rancher who's actually bred the red heifers, which are needed for the sacrifice. So all the stuff is in place. They're just fighting over several inches of land on where to start building the temple. And so when it's talking about 70 weeks, it's talking about the tribulation period. This is called Daniel's 70 weeks. It's also called Jacob's time of trouble to you and I. It is talking about tribulation period, or what we would call it in the book of Revelation. Now I want to show you the purpose of the tribulation period. When you study the history of Israel and so forth, Daniel was told that 490 years are going to pass, and when 490 years pass, then the Messiah is going to come. So at 483 years of Jewish history, okay, Jesus showed up. It wasn't on the 490th year, it was on 483rd year. So they couldn't accept him as the Son of God for several reasons, but one of the reasons is he was 7 years there before the prophecy. But that's why the demons cried out, "Have you come to torment us before the time?" And that's why Peter when he said, how many times must I forgive a man? And Jesus said 70 times 70. He's talking about for 490 years, the people are going to have to forgive, and then the Messiah is going to come. So when we're talking about 70 weeks and so forth, we're talking about the tribulation period. We are right now beginning to see the cusp, the birth pains, what the Bible calls the birth pains of the tribulation period, what's written in the book of Revelation. Now, it's not going to fully blow yet, but it will. So it says here that 70 weeks are determined, okay, upon the people and upon the building of the holy city, okay. Now, notice this. It's going to tell you the reason the tribulation period is coming. Number one, it says to finish the transgression. What does that mean? Well, we talked about it last session. That the transgression means basically you know what is written, but you choose to do your own thing anyways. So God has given everybody at the end of the tribulation period, that's it. Time's up. Make a decision. You're either with God or not. So it says to finish the transgression and to make an end of sins. Everybody sins. Say sins. So to make an end of sins. Sin is going to come to an end. It's going to end for 1,000 years. When Satan is going to be in solitary confinement, then he will be loosed upon the nations again for an undetermined amount of time, and then it's going to be the final conflict where he's going to be put into hell himself. So the end of transgressions, this is man being rebellious, the end of sins, okay? And to make consolation for iniquity. Iniquity also means you know what is written, and you've twisted it or you've amended it to fit your situation, but, you just go ahead and do your own thing. So iniquity, okay? The word says, but you do your own thing, and to bring in everlasting righteousness. So that is the purpose of the tribulation period. We're going to stop with iniquity. We're going to stop with sin. We're going to stop with lawlessness. God's going to say at the end of the 7 years, okay, you've made a decision. You've either followed God, you've accepted Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, or you have not. That's it. Time's out. Time's up. No more. Okay, and then comes the judgment and so forth. Now, you and I, when we face judgment, we will not be judged on whether we were going to heaven or hell or not. We will be judged by our works, our words, and our thoughts. Works, words, and thoughts. Some of us are really in trouble. But some of us don't work. Well, I'm talking men in the house of God. Some of us are words. We're good Christians in church, but come home, man, you just got off the ship and even the sailors are plugging their ears. Just saying. Notice I didn't look at anybody at that time when I said that. Because I don't want anybody going, he's looking at me. I would never talk about you. Now let's look at verse 25. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment, okay, to restore and to rebuild Jerusalem to the time of the Messiah. So we're talking about several thousand years. We're talking about probably about a 1,500 to a 2,000 year span of the commandment going forth. So I want you to see that when a prophet is in operation, we think that sometimes when we get a prophecy, it has to happen bam, 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 one right after the other. But when you're studying the prophecy, it shows you that some time can elapse between the words, even though the word and is in the middle of it. So if you've gotten a word from the Lord many years ago, don't give up. It's still in operation. All right, let's look at verse, let's flip over and let's look at the Message translation. Now, here's what you must understand. From the time the word goes out to rebuild Jerusalem until the coming of the anointed leader, that's Messiah, okay, there will be 7 sevens, okay? The rebuilding will take 62 sevens, including building streets and digging a moat, but it's going to be rough times. So from the time this started, Jerusalem has always been the hotbed, okay, of the planet. It's where all the activities is going on. So we're seeing that from the time of the rebuilding of the temple, even into modern day times, why is all this conflict been going on in Jerusalem? Because it's been prophesied in Daniel and Jeremiah and all sorts of other prophets that this is the kind of stuff that's going to happen. Now, let's dig a little bit deeper and let's go in Daniel chapter 9, verse 26. Is that okay for a recap? Okay, now, So this explains why Israel's always in the news. And after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. And the people of the what? Prince shall destroy the city. What is it saying? It's saying there's going to come a time when the city and the sanctuary, when Jerusalem is going to be destroyed. That happened in AD 70. In AD 70, the Roman army marched in there, they destroyed the sanctuary, and they destroyed the city. Okay? When Jesus told his disciples at one time, he said, you know, there's not going to be one stone left unturned in the temple site. He was actually prophesying about the destruction. And the reason they dug up the floors and so forth is because in the temple site, between the stones and so forth, it was inlaid with gold. And so they literally dug up the floor in order to get the gold and so forth. Everybody's going for the gold. All right. And so the end thereof shall be with a flood, and until the end of the war, desolations are determined. So basically, from the time of 70 AD, it's saying right here, there's going to be a continual conflict with Israel. Constant fighting, back and forth, back and forth. It's not going to stop. Desolations. Okay? It's continually fighting. If you ever study Jerusalem, when you study the Gaza Strip, everybody hear that in the news? The Gaza Strip, that's ancient. That's the ancient area known as Kirjath Arba. Kirjath Arba means Valley of the Giants. It's the place where David fought Goliath. And who is fighting Israel? The Philistines. Okay? Today, the Philistines are the Palestinians. So the conflict that David was trying to resolve by killing off of Goliath is still going on today. Are y'all still with me? All right. Daniel chapter 9, verse 27. Now it's going to start talking about the Antichrist a little bit. And he shall confirm the covenant, okay, with many for 1 week. The he is the Antichrist. The covenant is that he's going to come up with all sorts of treaties. He's going to come up with all sorts of agreements. He's going to get with the nations of the world. They're going to tell him what they want. He's going to say, okay, you can have it. Just help me get into power. I'll make it happen. Okay? In the midst of the week, and he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease. What does that mean? That means the Antichrist is going to make a peace treaty with Israel. Excuse me. He's going to allow them to rebuild the temple. He's going to allow them to start doing the sacrifices again. An oblation is a drink offering. It's when you take a chalice and you pour it out upon the altar. That's an oblation. So he's going to tell Israel, he's going to tell the priests, okay, you can go back and start sacrificing like you did, like you used to in the Old Testament history and so forth. They're going to go, great. Wow, this guy is awesome. He finally found a way for us to start worshiping God again. 3.5 years into the 7-year tribulation, into the 7-year peace treaty with them, okay, he's going to tell them, you know what, forget about it. He said he's going to cause it to cease. Everybody say to cease. Okay? And then what is going to happen? Okay, he's going to cause the oblation to cease, and for the overspreading of abominations, he shall, what? Make it desolate. So he's going to ravage Jerusalem, he's going to ravage the temple, and through desolations and abominations. Now, what would be an abomination, okay, to a Jewish mindset? Well, the abomination that happened in AD 70 was that a pig was slaughtered on the altar of God, and a pig was an unclean animal. So we get the impression, the possibility that there's some hooved animals, some unclean animals. He's going to run them through the temple in order to defile the temple. This is why in the Muslim religion and so forth, this is why rape is such a big force amongst them, is because they deem that if they rape a woman, it defiles the whole bloodline and the whole nation of whoever they rape. Okay? That's the purpose of that, is to pollute the bloodline. So if one of their daughters gets raped, she's going to get killed because her bloodline's polluted. That's how they see that. Are y'all still with me? So now you begin to understand the purposes of why they have mass rapes, rape camps, and so forth. They have just, 20, 30 men lining up on one person to do that in order to defile them and just to kill them. Okay? So he's talking about abominations, to make it desolate, okay, even until the consummation and that is determined will be poured out upon the desolate. The consummation, what is that? To be poured out on the consummation. That means we call it the fullness of times. It's going to happen until the very end, the climax of the ages, when everything is going to wrap up. It's going to go all the way to the end. This is going to be happening. It's not going to get any easier on the planet, folks. Are you getting this? It's not going to get any easier on the planet. The Bible tells us in the book of Isaiah, as the days go by, it's going to get darker and darker and darker. And this is a time for you to walk in discernment. This is a time for you to consider personal protection. And if you are a voter, this is a time when the elections come in November. You better get back to voting so the tides do not turn. Because what we have a tendency to do is we have a tendency to get one person in the office who's making change. But when it comes to mid-election terms, believers don't go back to the polls to vote and keep that tide going, and then everything is flipped around by the end of the 4 years, and everything that's been worked on so far is going to be for nothing. Are y'all still with me? I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not telling you how to vote or nothing like that. You draw your own conclusion. So this is talking about the Antichrist. Okay, he's going to make a peace treaty with Israel. Now let's take a look at that. Let's go to Daniel chapter 8, verse 25. Let's back it up from one chapter. And I want to show you something about this peace treaty. Daniel 8:25. Is anybody learning? And through his policy, everybody say policy, also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand. All right. The word policy is not a kingdom term. Covenant is. The word policy, this is the only time in the Bible where the word policy is used. So it shows you that the Antichrist is going to use government of man, not kingdom. Okay? So the word policy there is the Hebrew word, which means intelligence or discretion. So basically, he's going to get some kind of intelligence on them. He's going to find out their weak spot, and he's going to prey on the nation's different weak spots. Oh, you people need oil? We'll get you oil. Just vote for me. You people need guns? We'll get you guns. You people need food? We'll get you food. Just put me in charge, and I'm going to make sure it's going to happen. Then it uses the word craft. The word craft means deceiving or fake. When we think of the word craft, and when it's been taught in times past, people think he's going to make business to prosper. But basically what he's doing, he's going to give everybody a promise. If you put me large and in charge, I promise you when the time comes, I'm going to let you do this, this, and this. We're going to have all these trade things. There's not going to be an embargo. There's not going to be a tariff or anything. It's just all deception. Why? Because the devil can't do anything except lying. So the word craft there just simply means deceiving or fake. So he's just going to give them his word that is going to bless them. That's why later on in Revelation it says that it only lasts for an hour. Before it comes down, they're going to realize, hey, this guy just stuck us, but we just turned all of our military and might and everything over to him. Are you getting this? So this craft, okay, is business. It's not business and mercantile. This craft means that he is a fraud. He's going to sell them nothing, which is the same thing Lucifer did when he went amongst the stars and talked 1/3 of the angels to rebel with him against God. He promised them everything, but could offer them nothing. His modus operandi, his method never changes. He's got nothing to offer. Colossians tells us he's been stripped of everything. Okay? So he's going to make all these promises, but nothing's going to happen. So what does he do? Well, while he's making these promises, it says in the verse 25, he's going to magnify himself. Hey, listen, you can trust me. Are you getting this? Yeah, you can trust me. You know me. Come on, man. Hello? Your son right here. Then it says he's going to make a peace treaty. Now, the thing about this peace treaty, it is not the Hebrew word shalom, which means peace, everything's okay. This word is shavah, and it means security. He's going to make a security agreement with Israel. He's going to tell Israel, we're going to promise not to fire missiles, rockets, blow up your children, blow up your schools, blow up the marketplace, no car bombs, no people running at you going, no. Okay? We're going to give you a security treaty, a peace treaty, where you can go ahead and do your sacrifices. Nobody's going to interfere or anything like that. Okay? So, remember, this ties in with Thessalonians where it says, and when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction shall come upon them. So it all points to he's just a liar. He makes false promises, and he's telling Israel, who he has been against since the beginning of time, okay, that he's going to provide them security. Can you imagine your long-term enemy guarding over you while you're trying to worship your God? Hello? So he's gonna offer this security, this peace agreement. The word peace is not, hey, peace, man, everything's going good. It's like, listen, you'll be able to go to the market and stuff like that. Nobody's going to blow you up. Yeah. So, and he will, and then it says also in that verse, he'll be against the Messiah. He will dare take on the Prince of Peace. He will dare take on Jesus Christ. I don't know about you. You can't get dumber than to take on your Creator. You can't get more dumb. But he still, now notice this, even at the crucifixion he fell, but he still believes he's going to be God. Still believes. Now, here's the irony of this. Can I say this? Turn around, he's going to say it anyway. Here's the irony of this. He still believes his own lie, and yet many of us believe his lie as well when he doesn't know what the heck he's talking about. But we're convinced he's telling us the truth when he tells us we're not going to make it. There's no way out. God's not going to do nothing for you. And we believe him, and we swallow the same lie that he tells himself. I don't know about you, that's double crazy to me. We need some beanies with propellers on. So he's telling them, your kids will be able to go to school in safety. You'll be able to go shopping. No bombs or anything like that are going to go off in the marketplace. He's going to be against Christians. He's going to be against the Prince of Peace and so forth. And he's going to do anything he can, okay, for all these things. Now I want to mess with your doctrine. What's that doctrine? For years, it has been believed that the Antichrist, or the line of the Antichrist, will be the Catholic Church. Anybody ever hear that? Growing up? I need you to put your hand like you're proud of your arm. That's impossible. For the simple fact is that the Pope acknowledges that Jesus is the Son of God. And the Antichrist does not acknowledge that Jesus is the Son of God, but the Muslims will tell you that Jesus is not the Son of God. So it cannot be the Catholic Church or the Pope. Well, Brother John, I just don't know about that. You know what? Google it, get over it. In 1 John 2:18, it says this, Message translation. Children, time is just about up. You heard that the Antichrist is coming. Well, they're all over the place. Antichrists everywhere. Okay? Everywhere you look. That's how we know that we're close to the end. So what's happening now, and another way of saying it for you and I in the church language, is that the spirit of Antichrist is rising in the world. You and I are now the minority. We're the laughing stock. We're the crackpots. We're the serial killers in the movies. I mean, you know what I'm talking about. Okay? We're the ones who won't let, the different sins just run rampant because we're trying to have morals and do biblicals and stuff like that. So you and I are now the bad guys. Okay? But the Bible warned us there's coming a time when good will be labeled as evil and evil will be labeled as good. Welcome to the movies. Okay? That's where we're at right now. Now, the Muslim religion, okay, believe that they teach that, and they started teaching this over 1,200 years ago, that God had no son. Now, let me tell you what's interesting about that. They got that teaching that God had no son from the Jews. Because the Jews teach that there is one God. They don't teach about the Son of God. That's why when Jesus came on the scene, okay, they couldn't believe that God had a son. And the book of Romans says that their eyes are blinded to that. And so it was the Jews who taught the Muslim religion that God had no son. And so both the Jews and the Muslims do not believe that Jesus is the Son of God. Are you still with me? I don't know about you, but that's kind of ironic. And so when their God comes, or when their Messiah comes, okay, Allah, when he comes, he is supposed to come with Jesus. And what Allah is supposed to do is have Jesus confess to the whole world that he is not the Son of God and that God did not raise him from the dead. But doesn't the Bible tell us that anyone who says that Jesus is not the Son of God nor was raised from the dead is the Antichrist? So their Messiah and false prophet. So their Messiah is going to be Allah. The false prophet is going to be their version of Jesus. Okay? But to us, their Allah is our Antichrist, and their Jesus is our false prophet. Are you getting that? That's a religious mess. That's like this church may believe in speaking in tongues, and the church across the street doesn't. Who do you believe? Who do you go to? Are y'all still with me? Turn to three people and say, wow, I didn't know that. So they've been teaching this to they've been taught this over 1,200 years ago. Okay? So now, what's going on is that the Muslim religion is waiting for a white horse rider. But in order for the white horse rider to come onto the scene, the world has to be in a chaotic state. That's why back a couple of years ago, a guy named Muhammad Ahmadinejad wanted to destroy Israel off the face of the map because he believed, while he was in office, that it was his call from Allah to destroy Israel, so what they call the Mahdi can return. Okay, everybody say the Mahdi. I didn't say madman, I said Mahdi. So we're going to talk a little bit about that aspect. Is everybody clear so far? All right. So according to the Shia and the Sunni version of the Islamic eschatology, eschatology is the study of end times. What we're doing right now is eschatology. We're studying the last day. Okay. The Shia are ancient writings and sayings and so forth. Okay. From the Shia and the Sunni versions. Those are different versions of the Muslim Quran and so forth. Now, in case you're not aware, the Muslims have two sets of Qurans. Number one set is for the public, so you will believe that they're nice and peaceable people. And you need to understand, there are nice and peaceful, loving Muslims who really love God. But we're talking about the radical ones who think it's okay to just kill you. Alright, so we're not smearing anybody. Is that understood? Alright. I don't want 1,500 letters from because my bird cage is full. Alright. So what they believe, okay, to study of end time, is they believe that there's going to be somebody called the Mahdi. The Mahdi means the guided one, the one who is going to guide. Now, in order for the Muslims to come to together, they're going to have a caliphate. A caliphate is one Muslim community. Several years ago in the news, they wanted to use Turkey as the caliphate to unite all the Muslim ideologies and so forth. It's no different than during the time of King David when he united all the tribes of Israel. Same concept. Okay? So they have to have a caliphate. In order to have the caliphate, they have to have a Mahdi. A Mahdi is going to be a leader. They wanted to pick a guy named Erdogan. Erdogan is now the prime minister, or another way of saying president of Turkey. He's giving us a lot of trouble. Okay? Now, if you take Erdogan and unscramble it, you'll find E-Dragon in there. That's another story. All right, we won't go there. Turns to say, don't go kooky on me. Okay. So the Mahdi, the Mahdi or the guided one, is, according to their religion, the prophesied redeemer of Islam. Okay? Now, you got to remember, what we're looking at is we're looking at a biblical family feud. Okay? Started all the way with Abraham, Sarah, and Hagar. Not Sammy Hagar either. Okay? Now, remember they had two different sons. One was the son of the promise, and one was the son that was helped by mankind. Now, let's go to 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 7. Anybody learning so far? All right. For the mystery of iniquity doth already work. Only he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way. Okay, so let's break this down. For the mystery of iniquity doth already work. What is the mystery of iniquity? What is iniquity? Someone who knows what's written. Lawlessness. Good answer. Okay? So the mystery of iniquity is talking about the Antichrist. And it says the mystery of iniquity is already at work. Are y'all still with me? Now this was written over 2,000 years ago. So over 2,000 years ago, this was already in operation. Now notice this. Only he who now letteth will let. We might as well say, what does that mean? He who now letteth will let. What does that mean? And again, this goes that people have a tendency to read the Bible, but don't pay attention to what the heck they're reading. He who now letteth will let is talking about you and I. We are the he. Jesus is the head. We are his. The Bible says the body is the church. The body's the church. He's the he. We're not the bride. That's going to shatter some of you. Read Revelations chapter 19, 20, 21, so forth. It tells you the bride is New Jerusalem. Another teaching, don't write me, don't you know. Okay? So we are the he. He's the head. We're the body. He who now letteth will let. So that means while we are still here, the Antichrist is going to be in business, in operation, until he be removed. What are we waiting for? The trumpet, the rapture. When we, the body, the he, is removed, the Antichrist is allowed to come onto the scene. Now, I'm doing a new study guide for Sunday night. We're going to be talking about eternity. And one of the things that a lot of people can contend with is the rapture of the church. When is the rapture going to happen? Is it going to be pre-tribulation, before the 7 years? Is it going to be in the middle? Is it going to be at the end? So I never saw it until just the other day. The obvious answer is if you take the book of Revelation in chronological order, which it is, right? Okay, so when you read Revelation chapter 4, and I heard as it were a trumpet saying unto me, come up hither, and I will show you things to come. Revelation chapter 4 is the rapture chapter. We are raptured. Revelation chapter 6, 2 chapters later, the four horsemen of the apocalypse are released, and the first horse is the Antichrist. So the rapture has to happen before the Antichrist is on the scene. Bada boom, bada boom. The good news is, this coming up Monday is the Rosh Hashanah. It is the Feast of Trumpets. There are 7 trumpets mentioned in the book of Leviticus, chapter 23. Okay? And so each feast represents something that Jesus did, but it also represents a timeline. So on the Feast of Pentecost, the church age started. That's you and I. That's what we're in now. The age of the Gentiles, the mystery of the ages. Are y'all still with me? What's going to end the church age is the sound of a trumpet. The next feast that has to be fulfilled is the Feast of Trumpets, in Hebrew, the Rosh Hashanah, okay, the festival of blowing of trumpets, which happens next Monday. Now, are we date setting? No. But Jesus said, how is it you can tell it's going to rain tomorrow, but you can't tell the times of the seasons? Does God give clues on his return? Yes, he does. Okay? He told Noah, get in, for in 7 days judgment is coming. Right? In 7 days. It wasn't a mystery. Are you with me? Okay? So he okay? When Elijah was going to be raptured, we talked about this. When Elijah was going to be raptured, Elisha knew about it, and so did over 150 different prophets. Because it says the prophets in in Kings chapter 2, I think it's 1st and 2nd Kings, chapter 2, the prophets came to Elijah and they said, do you know that your master will be taken from you today? Can we translate that into English? Do you know Elijah's going to be raptured today? And Elisha said, yeah, I know it. Be still. So the prophets knew it, Elijah knew it, and Elisha himself knew it. And when Elijah went up, over 150 prophets saw him go up, as well as Elisha. When Jesus ascended, over 500 people saw him go up. Why do we think we're going to disappear in a moment between the night? When the two witnesses in the book of Revelation are going to be raptured up, it says the whole world will look upon them. Are you with me? Didn't God tell Lot, judgment's coming? When? In the morning? Get your family ready. So God doesn't just surprise, bing, there it is. He says he does nothing unless he reveals it to his servants and the prophets. That's a whole other teaching within itself. I do have a series called Revealing the Rapture. You'll love it. It's going to mess with your doctrine. All right? Because it's going to tell you what the shout is, what the trump is, who the archangel is, what the archangel is going to say. And it's all biblically based. I did not have a late night talk. Okay? It's all in the Bible. So he who now letteth will let. We are here. As long as we're here, the Antichrist has to operate in the background until he what? Taken out of the way. As soon as we are taken out of the way, who's going to come into power? The Antichrist. Revelations chapter 4, we're raptured up. 2 chapters later, the Antichrist is released upon the earth. He comes riding with a bow. What does that mean? Long range missile strikes, symbolic of long range warfare. He has no arrows. So that means he has to get his power from other nations. Why? Because Jesus rendered the devil powerless. So we saw in Daniel chapter 9, the only thing the devil can do is talk smack and make empty promises. Now to you and I, what he does, he doesn't make empty promises, he makes empty threats. I'm talking to you. Okay, so before the coming of that day, okay, which is called, according to the Muslims, it is called Yawm al-Qiyamah, which literally means the day of resurrection. Okay, now think about this. We're talking eschatology. Christianity, Islam. The Mahdi, their version of the Messiah, is going to come on the scene on the day of resurrection. They label it as their day of resurrection because the Mahdi is coming on the scene. But at our day of resurrection, you're not getting it, are you? You got it, sister? Yeah, I just called my wife sister in church. So on the day of resurrection, when we are resurrected and going home with Jesus, they think that it is the day of resurrection for the Mahdi, for their Messiah to come. What a coincidence. anybody getting? All right, let's look at it a little bit further, a little bit deeper. All right, everybody say day of resurrection. Okay, now it is also called, according to the Muslims, this day of resurrection is also called the day of standing. The graves will break forth, will open, and what's going to happen? The dead in Christ. But to the Muslims, the day of standing is when their Messiah is going to come on. The day of standing to you and I is when the graves break open. Do you see the time frame of eschatology, the prophecy? They're running parallel, but we're talking about two different people, two different events. On their day of resurrection, it's literally our day of resurrection. On their day of standing, those that are in the grave are going to come forth first, and we which are alive and remain will be caught up together with them. Okay? Are y'all still with me? Now, all of this points to, guess what? Our rapture. Heard someone say, well, at least they got something right. So, the concept of the Mahdi is not explicitly mentioned in the Quran, okay, or any of the Sunni, what's called hadith. Now, hadith is writings and teachings. So what am I saying? What they believe is not exactly written down. It's just what they believe. And they teach it from generation to generation to generation. But it's not written down, get this, in the Quran. But it's what they believe. And so it's been passed along orally and so forth. And how do you know when you pass along a story, by now, it's going to get embellished. See, that's why God didn't have you write your story in the Bible. Because you would make yourself look good. Like the Apostle John, I'm the one that Jesus loved. But God didn't allow him to put his name there, did he? I'm the one who had my head on Jesus' breast while he was eating his tortilla. How many of you know what I'm talking about? The apostle that Jesus loved. Okay. Because if you and I wrote our own, letters there, what God did and stuff like that, we would not make ourselves look bad. I don't know about you, my beginning line would be, I'm big, I'm tall, I'm really good in volleyball. So now you have what's called the Sahih al-Bukhari. Bless you, Pastor, thank you. Does mention the second coming of Jesus, but it does not mention the coming of the Mahdi. Okay? So you need to understand that the Mahdi is not universally accepted amongst the Muslim religion. Some believe it, some don't. That's why what I've been trying to tell you is that some Muslims who are actually peaceful and friendly and they just love what we would call their version of God, they're peaceful and friendly and they love their version of God. And you have the radical ones who, silence, I kill you. So, let me begin my close. Now, I'm going to read you something from the Sunan Abu Dawud, book of something. And it says, the prophet, okay, Hud said, sound like God's declaring himself, but I'm there is no prophet between me and him that is Jesus. This is the only time. Now, when you read this, you notice the P-H-U-H, they're spitting. It's disgust. Okay? They're spitting, disgust. So, but the Quran, or these writings, they admit that there is a Jesus. But it's in the term of the disgust, because Jesus there calls himself the Son of God, but according to them, there is no Son of God. looking as if what? As if drops were falling down from his head, okay? So it will not be wet. So the sweat is the glory, is the anointing water, okay? He will fight the people for the cause of Islam. He will break the cross, kill the swine, and abolish, okay, jizya. Allah will what? Perish all religion, okay, except Islam, and he will destroy the Antichrist, and he will live on the earth for 40 years, and then he will die, okay? The Muslims will pray over him. Now notice this. It says he will kill the crosses and the swine. The crosses means he's going to destroy Christianity. The swine is the Muslim dirty term talking about the Jews. So when their version of Jesus comes, he's going to destroy Christianity and he's going to destroy the Jews. Now, Christianity and Israel and the Jews, that's Old and New Testament. So you can see why the Antichrist will be against anything Christian. Are you still with me? All right. So he's going to abolish this. Now, let's do one more verse. Their version of Jesus Christ is false prophet. He's going to deny that Jesus is the Son of God. Okay? So Allah is going to perish all religions. So all religions, okay, are going to what? Perish. They just want one world religion. Now, according to Revelation 13, who wants a one world religion? Let's say it together, folks. The false prophet. The false prophet. So their Messiah and so forth, and our Antichrist and false prophet. You see how they differ. Alright? So crosses are symbolic of Christianity, and the swine is talking about the Jews. One John 4:3. In the flesh is not of God. And this is that spirit of Antichrist, whereas you have heard that it should come, and even now already is it in the world. Remember, the Muslim religion was in the world. Okay? So the Muslim believe that the Mahdi will rid the world of Christianity. He will rid the world of error, okay, and injustice and tyranny. The way he's going to do that is he's going to do a full-scale war on other religions. That war on other religions, folks, has already started. The Air Force. It's funny. The first branch of military to become anti-Christian because it's the only one, well, it's one of the major ones that we associate with flight or air or the princely power. Okay? So, but they believe that the Mahdi is going to come side by side with Jesus and that he's going to make Jesus confess that he is not the Son of God, that God did not resurrect him, and that they lie. And yet the Bible says, make sure you don't call God a liar. Anyone that says that God did not come in flesh is a liar. Isn't that what the word says? So everything that they believe, our Bible gives us warnings against, but yet they're willing to kill for the cause, and they're very fervent in their belief, and we can't invite somebody to church. We don't go out of our way to stab the devil, behead him in somebody's life and lead others to the Lord. I do this from time to time. Last time you brought somebody to church. As long as our pastures are green, our waters are still, nothing's going on, we're okay. Get out there, there's a group that's dying, crying, sighing. They may have heard of Jesus, but usually people who heard of Jesus, all they've heard was damnation and hellfire. They haven't heard love, mercy, grace, restoration, healing. And that's what they need to hear. The sad part about what I just said, it's going to fall on deaf ears. People are still not going to invite anybody to church. I pray that everyone in here has a nightmare of what hell is really like. Shake you to your core. Make you realize and so we're going to touch your own little knees and his hands. That there's something more detrimental, something more terrifying. Soul in hell, eternally separate from God, and you not have your eyes on. Not having a creature comforts or everything is going your way. You can't put a price on the soul. Somebody prayed in the midnight hours for you to be saved. When are we in these last days to rise up and have the same passion for that soul? We don't. Father, on behalf of everyone here, I ask that you forgive us of our apathy, having no passion of the moment to win souls. When we first got saved, Lord, we used to tell everybody. Now we've got some time under our belt, some word under our belt, some ministry under our belt. We've just lost our fire. Now we're more concerned about what we don't have and what's not going on than we are about the lost. We ask that you forgive us as a church body tonight. And Lord, I pray that this week you will send people across their path. That they can minister, that they can tell them about Jesus, about his love, about his healing power. Father God, I thank you in the name of Jesus that you're going to make a way where there is no way. Lord, if you never bless us this week at all, all of the who came down to my hell and pulled me out of darkness, put me into the kingdom of light. He tells me all the time I love you so. He's there for me when I'm alone. He ministers to me. I feel abandoned and neglected. Holy Spirit, I ask that you bring conviction among us. In the name of Jesus, for everyone watching. Stop playing church and let the best say amen to that. Amen and amen. 33 people, I'm going to win some souls this week. Let's give the Lord a hand clap offering. I did not know it was going to end like that, but it ended like that. Oh. No, and I love me too. You want some? All right, let's go ahead and cut the